On Larry King Now, FS1 sports broadcaster Colin Cowherd.
Certain athletes are very comfortable being disruptors and political and activists and dissenters. Most aren't. So it's interesting. LeBron, Megan Rapinoe, they really are rare. LeBron's brand is, I'm more than an athlete. 90% of these guys, and men and women, just want to be athletes.
Plus,
the way I always looked at it is, what does the audience want? My job is to make it interesting. I find the challenge is, the topic today is Kawhi Leonard, that's the tree. It's my job to put 6 branches on that puppy, better than anybody in the country. I have no interest talking about sports that you don't care about.
That's all next on Larry King Now. Hey folks, welcome to Larry King Now. I'm filling in for Larry today. My guest is sports broadcaster Colin Cowherd. Colin hosts The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays on FS1 and Fox Sports Radio Network. It's the network's top-rated studio program. He's one of the most trusted and recognized experts on all things sports-related, here to talk about some of the biggest topics in sports right now. The esteemed Colin Cowherd. How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I enjoy your show, brother, because like I said, sometimes these things turn into, it's almost like contrivances, some of the fights. I can't watch the angle on, you take this topic here and we'll both disagree on it. I like that you're measured about it.
Well, listen, it's just the world we live in, like Twitter. Everybody wants to win the argument. So, Colin Kaepernick signs with Nike. Terrible for Nike. 3 weeks later, the stock's fine. Mm-hmm. Everything comes out of a microwave a little hot. Mm-hmm. I don't think we let stuff bake as much as we used to, right? And that's cable TV, it's the internet, it's Twitter. So I've never thought I'm a debater. I'm not really comfortable debating. I would rather listen and laugh. That's just not my style.
Yeah, you're an interlocutor. And you know what? It used to be the kids would go for this, but there's no more denigrating term from a young person if you say something that you find to be novel or avuncular, and they'll look at you and go, wow, hot take. If you had a kid do that to you, my son will do that to me once in a while. I'll go,
yeah, no, it's, my kids kind of just laugh at what I do. They can't believe the reaction it gets. I've told people this before. It is remarkable to me that adult men are angry with somebody who has a different sports opinion. I've never listened to any host. Like, to me, the line of demarcation is, you're uninteresting, click. Or you're interesting, I'm captive. I've never cared if I agree or disagree. It doesn't matter if it's politics. I'm listening, whether it was Paul Harvey, Rush, Michael Savage. I'm just listening for good communicators. Now, maybe that's because I'm in the business, but when you're a comedian, right, you're doing your comedy.
Yeah.
To you, a good joke's a good joke. Mm-hmm. A good story is a good story. That's how I listen to it. I consume it as, are you entertaining? If I can read Ann Coulter and watch Bill Maher, and I'm entertained with both.
I think we live in times of great insecurity and people taking a pronounced stand on either side of an issue and engaging in the fray and not unlocking antlers at some point. That's right. That gives them their gravity nowadays.
And I also think, and this is not a shot at Trump, if I was a controversial host, let's take Howard Stern in the 70s, 80s. Howard didn't give you a beige tarmac to land on. Black, white, because he was, for his own sake, he wanted to make big money, so he was taking big swings. So half the people were mortified that he was moving too fast. Mm-hmm. The other half were behind him saying, this is great, you're changing the world. So Howard didn't give you a lot of places to safely land. You were for him or against him. Trump tends to kind of weaponize social media. He's different. So the Megan Rapinoes are going to land on one side, and the Fox News group will land on the other, and that's just the way. Remember, Trump was a reality and a real estate mogul, not really a politician. So I understand completely the polarization of it, because I've grown up in the polarization of Michael Savage, Howard Stern. These are people I grew up with, and not really listening for their ideology, but more their style, their teasing, their tendencies. So I've kind of grown up on radio, and radio before TV had controversial figures.
Well, let's talk Rapinoe. Let's talk about the Women's World Cup. I think that she not only won the Golden Ball, the Golden Foot, she won the Fortnite. To me, it appeared she loved being in the middle of this
Absolutely.
process. People would say, "Can you believe she has to saddle up under this for the last month?" I'm thinking, "Oh, come on, she's eating this up."
Yeah, I mean, Dennis, I started with Muhammad Ali, LeBron, and we'll put in Megan Rapinoe, although she's not as pronounced globally. Certain people, very rarely, but certain athletes are very comfortable being disruptors and political and activists and dissenters. Most aren't. What's interesting in sports today, the best baseball player is Mike Trout, doesn't talk. Best basketball player is arguably Kawhi Leonard, doesn't talk. Brooks Koepka, doesn't talk. Federer, apolitical. Christian Pulisic, the best male soccer player of my life, doesn't really talk. So it's interesting. LeBron, Megan Rapinoe, they really are rare. LeBron's brand is, I'm more than an athlete. 90% of these guys, and men and women, just want to be athletes. You went into politics. Jon Stewart went into politics. Most comedians did the Seinfeld thing. They kind of just do jokes.
When I got that job doing Weekend Update, guess what? You're lucky to pull the straw. And from that point on, people want to know what you think about current events.
That's right.
So, I remember being on the outside, not doing a political joke in my life, but I'm in Baltimore doing 3 shows on a Saturday night. All of a sudden, you're the Weekend Update anchor. And at that point, I'm Pavlov's dog. I'm going to talk about the headlines. See, to me, I do think that women athletes and men athletes, I guess I'm somebody who's an adherent to the fact that they're both putting out to their max capabilities, and I can be fascinated by both sides of it. But when I watch Alex Morgan, when she did the T, I thought it was a pissy thing to do. And people say, oh, being a double standard. I'm being a single standard, because when Randy Moss pulls out a magic marker and signs it, it's just in my hard drive that stuff like that bothers me a little. It doesn't bother me because she's a woman. I just thought, England seems like they're a pretty good bunch of dames. I don't know why she's doing the teacup thing. Yeah. And then I've heard you talk, though, and you think it's a double standard.
Yeah, I think Charles Barkley was elbowing Angolan basketball players. We were beating them by 80, and kind of, as we ran down the court, we had a certain swagger to what we were doing. I think we're looking at the greatest it's the greatest global soccer team ever. This is the 4th straight World Cup. Now, Brazil, Italy, and France have 13 combined World Cups. We have 4 straight. The ratings for the Women's World Cup beat the men's final in America by, I could be wrong on this, 20%. They're different. They're the dream team. I mean, we're going to the bench for players that would star on the Netherlands.
And I've checked everything you've said. I think the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I just got to that, and I thought, England seems all right to me. I don't know why you did that.
I thought it was sort of global gamesmanship. I also always defend soccer players. Michael Phelps wins so many medals. There have been times that he can't go to the medal ceremony for his gold medal because he has another event.
Right.
You play
like Bill Devane on the gold commercial.
You play every 4 years.
Right.
Half the women on that team have never scored an Olympic goal.
That's true.
I don't lose a ton of sleep over it.
Next, we talk to Colin about the success of his FS1 show, The Herd with Colin Cowherd, and the continued domination of sports in our culture. Plus, we'll talk a little about the NBA free agency season, which I guess can be laid to rest now that Kawhi has lighted it down in the City of Angels. That's next on this edition of Larry King Now. Hey folks, welcome back to Larry King Now. I'm Dennis Miller filling in for Larry today. My guest is the erudite and literate sports broadcaster Colin Cowherd. So listen, man, FS1's #1 rated show, and it is a thicket out there to get eyes and ears. What do you think sets you apart? And I don't mean in an ego way. I'm just saying, when you go into it, what do you think the people are looking for that they come your way in such big numbers?
I think what I do is, I've been doing it a long time, so you build some equity with the audience, right? And I did ESPN for over a decade and now Fox Sports. So part of it is longevity. I think I do say something. I think I kind of write columns as I talk because I kind of wanted to be a newspaper guy before anything.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so, the lead, explain, close. The way I always looked at it is, what does the audience want? My job is to make it interesting. I find the challenge is, the topic today is Kawhi Leonard, that's the tree. It's my job to put 6 branches on that puppy, better than anybody in the country. I have no interest talking about sports that you don't care about. The artist is the opposite. The artist is, I'm going to talk about what I talk about. I hope you like it. My takeaway is, what do you like? All right, I'm going to make it interesting.
I love that perspective because I find that a more intricate, interesting challenge to me.
Oh, it's a challenge.
When I go out, I'll always say to the guy, can I talk to the guy who signs my check? And I'll say, do you want swearing, no swearing, or, medium range swearing?
Right,
and he'll
right.
go, well, that's up to you. I go, no, listen, this is your night, especially at a corporate or something.
Yes.
I don't want people walking away from this saying, why did that get so odd or fractious or what I didn't want? Tell me what you want because I have fun working into that puzzle.
I could be significantly less of a talent than you. But when I turn on the radio, I'll take a B talent talking about what I care about more than an A talent trying to convince me the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs are fascinating. It's nothing against hockey. But I find, I don't know how good of a broadcaster I am. I'm really good at selecting topics. Nick Saban always says, I'm not the best coach, I'm the best recruiter. Mm-hmm. I'm a really good topic selector.
No, you run a tight shop, man.
Yeah.
I dig that.
By the way, Rush figured Trump out early. Didn't fully embrace him, but Michael Savage bailed on him. It's hurt him. Rush has always been, this is kind of fascinating. It's different. Any criticisms have been measured. Rush is the better businessman than Michael Savage.
Yeah. When I talked to Costas, some of these guys, God, they knew in the womb. It was almost amniotic.
Yes.
It was a mic cord, the
right.
belly button. But when
Same
did
here.
you know?
6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
I used to watch King TV in Seattle. And there was this real outspoken sportscaster, and I watched him, and I just thought that's what I wanted to do. I didn't have, my dad was a workaholic. My mom was sort of a reticent British soul.
Oh, she was British.
Yeah, British soul, Lancashire. And not that I raised myself, but I was almost indifferent to parenting. I knew what I wanted to do at 7. Really appreciated them feeding me and covering my head. But my mom always said, we didn't really parent you. We just sort of managed you. I kind of knew what I wanted to do, and I was on my way to do it. And as long as I could scrap together enough money to pay for college, which I barely did, I walked onto a college campus and I'm like, I'm here to, I felt like a less talented Zion Williamson. I'm here for a couple months, then I'm off to Vegas to broadcast. I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
But it sounds like you were on your own in some degree of reverie, that you weren't a kid left out,
Well,
Alone's
not lonely.
Yes.
I was never lonely.
I'm telling you, Cowherd, we have some of the same inner conversation because I used to think the same thing. I didn't feel like a pariah. I just thought, well, listen, I'm not the center of this attention here when I was a kid, but I'm pretty happy. I'd listen to Bob Prince at night to the Pirate games. I said, I got my own little scene here, and I'm pretty happy.
Bob's one of the 10 seminal, unique baseball voices in America. Ernie Harwell, Detroit, Jack Buck, Vin Scully.
You take those guys out of the tiny bottle city of Candor, though, and try to put them under a yellow sun, and it doesn't work.
Baseball is interesting because baseball used to have so much fun. I grew up with Mickey Rivers and Pete Rose and Harry Carey. Announcers were really regional and unique. Baseball is even trying now they're doing a little bit of a PR campaign, let the guys play.
Yeah.
Is that baseball, my favorite players were Mark Fidrich, Al Roboski, Reggie Jackson, Mickey Rivers, Pete Rose.
All the quirky cats.
All the quirky guys. And baseball, for some reason, and I think the genesis of it, Dennis, steroids came out. And when steroids came out, for about 5 years, the hitters were taking them, the pitchers weren't, because there was a fear in the pitching community, I'm going to throw my arm out. It's hard enough to get through this career. So pitchers got crushed for 5 years. And their only defense was throwing at hitters. So you go back 20 years, when steroids were kind of ravaging the game and hitters dominated, pitchers started throwing upstairs. And from that point forward, there has been this reluctance for batters to ever show up a pitcher. I miss it. I like that part of baseball.
After the break, how the latest NBA free agency will change the 2019-2020 NBA season. Plus, what sports stories should we be paying more attention to? That's all coming up with FS1's Colin Cowherd. Right after this, Larry King Now. Hey folks, welcome back to Larry King Now. I'm Dennis Miller, filling in for Larry today. My guest today is sports broadcaster Colin Cowherd, and the guy's interesting in the breaks too. I love the take you just had about baseball being lucrative, but obviously regional, more of a local thing. A lot of the money's accrued there, but NBA is the the world show now, right?
In my world, Dennis, I need urgency and stars. So Tiger wins the Masters, Conor McGregor fight, NBA free agency. Baseball is wildly lucrative. I mean, the volume, the old saying in sports was always, NBA thinks of it first, baseball makes the most money on it, NFL gets it right. So basketball has always been our creative area. Baseball's got the most volume, makes the most money. And the NFL, very nimble, willing to change, like on a dime, in season, generally gets replay first, they get it right. But baseball's always been the money sport.
It is fascinating to me how these seasons broaden out. And once again, if you said the NFL gets it right, there's around 3 days where the NFL's not the story. We happen to be in the middle of them right now, but for the most part, boy, do they know. And I don't even think if Goodell was that nimble a thinker, but whoever is helming it over there is doing a good job of broadening the brand out. The NBA now in the midst of that, too. Have you ever seen a free agent season? Get this, the game was afoot, Watson.
People were petrified, Dennis, that mobility was killing parity. And the truth is, the only competitive balance issue in sports is college football, where Alabama and Clemson will play again for the national title. Small town America, which often is suspicious of big city America and stars, they've got the competitive balance issue. NBA's had 7 different champs in 10 years. We're a country of options, we're demanding, we're unrealistic compared to the rest of the globe. And so what you find is these super teams are created. A year in, the guys are like, I'm over this. Kevin Durant's like, I'm not the man. I'm the best basketball player in the world, but not in my own city. So when you give all these NBA players options, yes, they often form super teams. But the band breaks up. It's like rock and roll bands in the 80s, 90s without the heroin. Like, they're done fast. Kawhi Leonard goes to the Lakers. That thing lasts a year. No. And Anthony Davis is like, I'm here, pass to me.
David Lee Roth out, Sammy Hagar in.
So NBA free agency didn't kill parity. In the end, now we got like 12 teams, both with 2 stars. It took time to bake, and it's fine.
I think KD, in an odd way, though, is what they say, there's a line where water falls on either side of it. Right. I think by him going to a 70-win team the year before, I think he reset things in a way where guys are going in 2s now, that they're a little loath to be in a 3 because they don't want to look like they're gaming it.
That's exactly it. In fact, I've said that. That's a really good observation. Is like anything, it started with 3s. And then players sat back and watched, man, A, you don't win as much as you think, and B, you just get crushed by fans.
Yes.
So everybody's like, Kawhi Leonard's like, I can go there, or I can just recruit another guy. And we're a Batman Robin league now.
Yeah.
It's not the Avengers movie. It's not 3 and 4 stars, and I think it's healthier.
When I watch Kawhi's game, and I read somebody say this, and obviously I had the thought, but somebody codified it, a columnist. That is, for me, the closest I've seen to MJ.
To me, it is too. The hand size.
Yeah, and the silent killer, like, I'm going to save a little of this energy because I'm going to beat your ass the next time on the court again, and I don't want to expend it on an over-celebration here. He
doesn't have Kobe or Michael's style, panache, personality. I mean, Michael had the earring, the perfect... I mean, Michael just didn't own a sweatsuit, not publicly.
And the Mamba would just look at you like, I'm about to kill you if you don't get your head out of your ass.
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi is less flashy than Kobe, less ad-lib, but he's got the Michael thing where the hand size, the sinewy body, plays both ends, and he has like 3 or 4 stock moves. Kobe was always more artist. He was a tough shot maker. He's Phil Mickelson. Michael's more Tiger. This is what I do well. Off the tee, big putts. Michael's game was really structured on the mid-range jumper and about 3 set moves, and you couldn't stop any of them. That's Kawhi's game. You know what's coming? You're not going to stop me anyway.
So does Paul George have any Pippen left in him now?
Yes.
Kawhi comes over. I haven't seen Paul play in a while.
He's a 1A. He's not a 1. I don't think he has the personality for it. Small town kid, Palmdale, Fresno State, Indiana. We wanted to make him what he wasn't. He's very comfortable being the second best player on a really good team. That's who he is.
In our final moments with Colin, he'll answer questions from social media. Stay with us. This edition, Larry King Now. Hey, welcome back to Larry King Now. But I've got an interesting cat here. I want to pick his brain. Just let me throw 4 or 5 major sports at you. Tell me who your guy is all time. Football.
My favorite player or the best player?
Guy.
Troy Aikman.
Really?
I love Troy Aikman. Doesn't he look like an NFL quarterback should look like?
And
chest, cool,
3
kind of a
rings.
kind of a Dallas drawl to him. He's like, if they made a movie about quarterbacks, Troy Aikman should be the guy.
I love it when he always says he's got to put that ball on him, because every time I watch that cat for 15 years, he put it on them.
Jimmy Johnson tells the story. I said, when did you know Troy was special? He goes, about the second throw. Practice. We're like, that's different.
He put it on him. At baseball.
Johnny Bench, Cincinnati Reds catcher, cool cat, power, best arm, threw from his knees.
Beast. Yeah, that was the first time you saw a guy stay in the squat and just
throw it.
Boom, do the laser.
Manny Sanguian could hit.
Yeah.
Had the weird, and then it was, I think
Manny
it was.
got called strikes in the on-deck circle. He was
Manny.
That was the only time. But when
no
he got
plate
into the
discipline, but a great talent.
Basketball.
Dr. J was the first player I loved. Magic, I think, jumped through a television.
Yeah.
A 6'9.5" point.
That first year in the
today,
6th game when the captain was hurt, they had to put Magic down low. He went from 44-16, 8.
YouTube Magic today, and you're like, oh, he would be the best player in the league today.
Yeah. And my man was always thinking, push it. Every time he got through, there was never a sidestep. It was like they always say in football, north to south runner. When Magic would get the rock, he said, where's the other hoop? I'm heading that way.
The gap between Magic and Michael is much smaller than people think.
Wow.
9 championship finals. He won 6. Or he won 5 of 9. Michael only got to 6.
Wow. And I won't get you with hockey, although I trust that you have some hockey acumen. But you've got who was the soccer cat you said?
Christian Pulisic. He's the greatest American soccer talent. Listen, soccer fans have been mocked forever, right? It's the second football in America. And so, every Ethan and Josh and Jacob who hated the high school football players and love soccer because they're the same size.
Right.
They hate guys like me who like football. I'm not a soccer expert, but if you can't spot Christian Pulisic at 17 years old, he is remarkable. He is the only
next evolution.
Oh, he's our Magic. He has this foot skill we've never had. He was a dominant player at the Gold Cup, where we lost to Mexico, 3 goals, 3 assists. We've never had a soccer player at this age that could go to Germany or the English Premier League and not only be captivating, but potentially star. He is our game changer.
Well, there's your tip, folks. Let's go to some social media questions here for Colin. Jim Crawley on Larry King Now blog asks, what NBA free agency trade was the most surprising to you?
Mike Conley to Utah is exactly what they need, and because it's in that mountain time zone, and it's not as lit and turnt and hip as the rest of the NBA cities, Utah is an incredibly 1 through 8. Mike Conley is exactly what they needed. Watch out for the Jazz.
Yeah, so they've got some, I think Don Cherry used to call the Bruins the lunch pail AC. They got a little lunch pail out there.
They've got everything. A big bench, coach, point guard.
There you go. Jim also asks, is there a sport you don't find interesting? I know you don't talk about hockey, but I assume you like some hockey.
I watch hockey playoffs, absolutely. Yeah. Regular season baseball, it's never ending. I love October. I'm mostly into everything. I'll watch anything.
You got to go to baseball regular season. I even go to spring training for the Elysian Fields aspect of it.
Right.
But you can't, there's 162 games. You can't get that thing done any given night, so the stress isn't there.
Right. No, sports is great with urgency. You give me October, Yankee Stadium, Red Sox, nothing beats it.
With you completely. Dave Smithers on Larry King Now blog asks, what is the most underrated sport that should get more mainstream coverage?
You know, a sport that I find fascinating, women's softball, ESPN has it in the summer. First of all, it's fast, they're quick, it's the speed. It is remarkable to me, the efficiency, the speed they play. If I ran a network, obviously you'd want the NFL and you want, college football. That sport is incredibly consumable. The games are over in like an hour 15. It's intense. Teams are on the edge of the dugout. The games are like 1-0, 2-1. Yeah. Every run matters. Every hit matters.
Plus, the game comes at you from a whole. It's like when Quisenberry or Teak to Colby were on the hill.
No,
and it would come up.
I can
when
remember
I watch them do that, I go, That is the high heater.
Johnny Carson as a kid. Reggie Jackson came on like Johnny Carson show and faced the world's best softball pitcher and couldn't.
Eddie Feiner, the king of the sport.
Couldn't hit him. So the ability to, it's timing.
Yeah.
It's 88 miles an hour, 40 feet, go.
Yeah.
I find it captivating
Yeah,
TV.
it is fun to watch. And lastly, we got Larry Rowand on Larry King Now blog. We're midway through the baseball season. What are your predictions for the second half of the season?
Dodgers have been reluctant to jump in with big contracts outside of Kershaw. They said no to Greinke, no to Machado, no to Bryce Harper. Best young talent in the game, 1 through 7 hitters. I loved Puig. He was disruptive in the locker room. The Dodgers have done these baby steps. I don't think there's a team they meet in the playoffs that can solve their batting order. I don't think the Yankees can.
I want to thank you for coming on, brother. It's nice talking to you. You're an interesting cat. Colin Cowherd, I want to thank you for joining me today. Be sure to tune in to The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays on FS1 and Fox Sports Radio. And a little plug from me, my special Fake News Real Jokes is now available on Amazon Prime. My podcast, The Dennis Miller Option on Westwood One. We will see you next time.